What if I told you that by using these credit cards, you can guarantee yourself a 10 to 15% return on all of your tax payments every single quarter or every single year? Now, if you're somebody that pays your taxes monthly, quarterly, or just every single year you owe at the end of the year, you definitely want to watch this video because you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And with April 15th deadline looming, you probably want to watch this video. So that's why in this video, I want to go over exactly why I pay my taxes online and why you should too every single year to guarantee a lot of value back on the money you're going to be spending anyway on your taxes. Number two is actually going on the IRS.gov website, showing you exactly step by step how to use your credit cards to pay your taxes. So this way you can get all this value back. And then thirdly, some common questions or issues that people run into, like specifically, can I use my credit card to pay someone else's taxes and vice versa? So let's get into it. So first and foremost, why would you want to pay your taxes online with a credit card? Now, if you owe at the end of each year, then you're probably one of three people. One, you're likely a business owner. Two, maybe you have some stock in an account that's not tax advantage and you had to actually pay some taxes on those capital gains. Or number three, maybe in your business and you pay quarterly taxes, you didn't pay enough into it. And at the end, you still owe a little bit more. And maybe you had a good year this year. Now, as an example, if you're somebody that owes a small amount, right, maybe $500 at the end of the year, which is not too bad, but you can still maximize this with credit cards. For example, a credit card like the Chase Freedom Unlimited card right now has an offer of spending $500 in the first 3 months, and you'll get a $250 bonus in the form of Chase Ultimate Reward points, which is 25,000 Chase points, which could be cashed out for $250, thus giving you a 50% return on that tax payment if you only owe like $500. And this is not the only card that does that. Capital One Saver also has a similar thing. Spend 500, get 200 back. The Chase Freedom Flex, also spend 500, get 200 back. And so getting anywhere between a 40 and 50% return on that small amount of tax payment is actually pretty good. And of course, this is just for tax payments. You can use your credit cards for anything, any payments, your groceries, your dining out, all of that to also hit these welcome offers. But in this example for taxes, if we want to up this equation by a dimension, take me for an example. I'm going to see my CPA probably tomorrow, and I'm likely to owe around $5,000 or $6,000 in just a couple of weeks because the tax deadline is April 15th. And then it's been fairly consistent over the last couple of years. Now, in that example, for somebody who owes maybe $6,000 on their taxes, what they could do is sign up for a card like the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card. Now, this credit card specifically has a welcome offer of spend $6,000 in the first 3 months, and you'll get a $750 cashback bonus, aka 75,000 Chase Reward points, which at its face value, if you were to cash it out for $750 in cash back, and since this credit card also gives you a 1.5% cashback return on everything that you spend on it, that's right. So $6,000 actually gives you an additional about 9,000 points extra. That essentially means at its lowest level, you'll be getting 84,000 points, which can be cashed out at 1 cent per point, or $840 in cash back. And if we got $840 back, but we spent $6,000 to get that, we actually get a return of 14% on all of our money. That's right, a 14% return on a tax payment. Now, don't get me wrong, $6,000 is a lot of money to foot for a tax payment, but you can mitigate those costs by at least 14% in this example for a Chase Inc. Unlimited credit card. And much like those lower end cards, there's also many other examples of cards to get welcome offers much like this. For example, right now you could walk into a Chase branch and get a Chase Sapphire Preferred for 100,000 points after spending just $5,000 on the card in the first 3 months. And while this card does carry a $95 annual fee, it still pales in comparison to the value you would get back from this welcome offer. In this case, getting $1,000 back after spending just $5,000 on the card, which would end up giving you a 20% return on your money, which is just absolutely insane. Not only that, but also the Capital One Venture Card series, like the Venture Rewards, that also has a $95 annual fee, which gives you about a $1,000 cashback bonus after spending just $4,000 on the card in the first 3 months. Even the Amex Gold card, you could spend $6K on it in the first 6 months, get 100,000 points. Or for you high spenders, you could spend $20,000 on a business platinum card and get 150. But all those examples aside, you can kind of see the value up front, at least at the minimum level. Paying your taxes with a credit card can guarantee you an over 10% return on your money, which is great. But If we want to up that equation even then by another dimension, you can do what's called joining the credit card points and miles game, where we actually use these points for travel and actually amplify that value over time. Now, in that same example where we talked about the 75,000 points or 750 cash back with the Chase Ink Business Unlimited, here's another thing you can do, which I actually just did recently. Enter one of the nicest hotels in all of Florence, Italy. That's right, overlooking the entire cityscape, really prime location to all the different walking areas in downtown Florence. This hotel is absolutely amazing. Now you might be wondering, why am I showing you this specific hotel? Well, for a couple of reasons. Now, number one, this is a hotel you could actually book with Hyatt, which just happens to be a partner hotel of Chase using your Chase Ultimate Reward points. So that same about 85,000 points we got from the welcome offer and some spend with our Ink Unlimited card, we could take that and transfer it to Hyatt hotels, which we could then book this exact hotel, which we could see right here for one king bed. It's 35,000 points a night. So the welcome offer plus maybe a little bit more spend, you can actually get 3 full nights in this luxurious hotel. And if you're wondering the cash price for this exact hotel for 3 nights, if you're going to pay cash for that same exact hotel for those same nights with those exact points, you would end up spending about 2,800 euros. 2,800 euros. 2,839 euros to USD equals $3,063 in US dollars, which is absolutely insane. Which, depending on how you value the hotel, would you really spend 3,000 anyway? That's a whole different story. And again, this isn't just necessarily speculation. This is something I literally did and I booked myself. But if you were to value it in that way, getting a $3,000 hotel for just $6,000 in spend for that card, I mean, you're basically giving yourself a nice, cool 50% return on your tax payment that year, which I don't know about you, depending on if you value that or not, but guaranteeing 3 nights in the heart of Florence, Italy seems like a pretty good return to me for just getting a credit card for your taxes. Maybe I'm crazy. And a trick that you may not have thought about, but a lot of people actually end up doing every single year for their tax payments is this. Now, this credit card, again, much like the others, has a spending requirement and a great welcome offer. Spend 3,000 in the first 6 months, get 100,000 Hilton Honors points plus a free night award, which in my estimation is worth at least 1,000 to around $1,500 in future hotel travel value. But where the secret sauce is in this card, and what a lot of people do every year on their high tax payments, is they'll go down here and you could see that there's something called a free night reward. Now, it doesn't come for free, mind you, but you can earn another free night reward. So the free night certificate I talked about earlier on this card, if you spend $15,000 each calendar year on this specific credit card. So what a lot of people do is they'll use this credit card just for their taxes at the end of the year, earn a free night certificate, and that'll get them a free night in likely an $800 to $1,000 hotel every single year. And also they would earn 3 points per dollar spent on that 15K. So if that's the case, that's another 45,000 points, which can give you another night in a lower level Hilton hotel. So I think you get my point, right? Credit cards are a tool, a little bit like a cheat code, where you could get an insane amount of value for all the money you're going to be spending anyway on, again, not just taxes, but also all of life's expenses can be put on these credit cards for life-changing vacations for the future. So now that you understand the value of that, let me show you exactly how to pay your taxes online with a credit card. Now, first and foremost, I just like to always type in irs.gov/payments. That'll take you to this website right here. And you can see there's a few different options to be able to pay your taxes. Now, this is a direct website to IRS, so it is all secure. This is what a lot of people use. This is what I use every single year. Now, you can see that there's a few different options. There's language options, there's payment options, and what have you. Like, for example, pay from your bank account. So this is if you're going to use just your normal bank account, ACH payment. You're not really going to get much from that whatsoever. Then you also have this option here, which is pay with your debit card, which is basically similar to a bank account, your credit card, or digital wallet. So for those of you who have cards with digital wallet multipliers, this might be able to benefit you. But in this case, since we're going to be paying with a credit card, we're actually going to choose this option right here by pay by card. And then once you're here, you can see that there's a couple different options. Things have changed over the years, especially last year when I made this video. This used to look a little bit different, but if you look right now, these are the processing fees that you get just by paying with certain different modes. Now, this is the fees that you pay by these processors that you choose down below, depending on what method of payment that you're actually using. Now, as an example, when you use this payment processor, you're paying $2.15 when you're paying with your debit card, which is really not great. And in that case, you're better off just ACHing where you have no fees whatsoever. Now, next is paying by credit card, which is exactly what this video is about and exactly what I do every single year. And these percentages have been going down every single year. I remember when I first did it, I think it was 1.92%, something like that. Last year was 1.82%. And now this year it's 1.75%, so even better. So then you might be wondering, like, wait a second, Anthony, I have to pay fees on my taxes? What are you talking about? You didn't mention this earlier. Well, let's do a little bit of math, right? Let's say we had that initial example of spending $6,000 in taxes this year. We're going to multiply that by the 1.75%, and that's going to give us $10.5. So $10.50 you're paying with these fees. So if you spend $6,000 on a credit card, you're only going to be incurring a $10.50 for this entire transaction, which again pales in comparison to the minimum, like that cashback offer of $850 in cashback, right? So that's why even though you see this percentage, it really means nothing in the grand scheme of things, and you'll be getting way more value from the credit card welcome offer in and itself. And even if you were worried about that, think about it this way too: paying 1.75% on that card, like we mentioned earlier, the Ink Business Unlimited, this card also earns 1.5% cash back on the money that you're spending on the card, just a net loss of 0.25%, which is like, it's really peanuts, let's be honest. And then you can see right here, what are the different payment options that are allowed. Now, there's Visa, there's MasterCard, Discover, American Express, all these different ones. Now, these four alone are covering every single card we talked about in this video, so you're cool there. But something that I actually found interesting that a lot of people don't realize is that there's a couple other things you can do in this side, actually both sides, but this one specifically, digital wallet. You can either do click to pay. So for those of you who do have some credit cards with multipliers on digital wallet, you might be able to maximize here. But one thing I found interesting was PayPal. Now, PayPal is interesting because some credit cards give you money back for PayPal. Like, for example, the Chase Freedom Flex every now and again will actually give you a 5% rotating category on up to $1,500 for the PayPal category, thus giving you 5% back up to $1,500 in the PayPal category. Usually, however, this is in the months of October to December. But again, if you're somebody that's going to be paying your monthly or quarterly taxes for your business, that's something that you could take advantage of when that time comes. And you can see on the right side here with ACI payments, their payment processor is a little bit more expensive, but they do allow Venmo down there. So not sure if you guys would take advantage of that. I have not, but it's an option nonetheless. And for those who are wondering, yes, if you're somebody that pays your estimated taxes quarterly, this is also how you would pay these as well. You go through this exact same option. So now let's go to hit make a payment, and it's going to take you to this little website right here. And it's going to say pay your personal taxes or pay your business taxes. If you're unfamiliar of what you should owe, just know that I guess if you have a sole proprietor or an LLC, majority of the time, that's all going to be considered your personal taxes. If you have an S corporation or some other partnerships and what have you, that's going to be usually classified as business taxes. This website does a good job of actually breaking it down, and I'll leave this linked down below, but you could read through this and you could see which one is right for you. But they talk about C corporations, S corporations, nonprofits, etc. But in our case, anybody that's self-employed, like I'm a real estate agent, YouTuber now, anybody that's LLC, sole proprietor, you can just hit pay taxes, and you can see that looming April 15th deadline, baby. So then once we click here, it's going to take us down to, again, some of the fees that you may owe for a credit card or debit card or what have you. Also, as they mention here, which is also pretty powerful, is they say as an added benefit, the convenience fee is tax deductible on business tax payments and on qualified personal tax payments. So consult your CPA, but that 1.75% that you're going to pay on this method just by paying with your credit card can be tax deductible depending on your business. So consult your CPA with that, which is, all the more better. And so here is where you would add in some additional options like personal or business. They give you an option to rectify that if you had the wrong one. Your tax form for most of us is going to be the 1040 series. And in this case, estimated tax payments for somebody who's going to be doing this quarterly. So we'll do the 1040 series, tax form option, which is going to be the current year, 2024, payment amounts. So this you will have gotten from your CPA, what have you, however you file your taxes every year, whether it's TurboTax or your CPA. In our case, let's say it's $6,000. So we'll put that amount there. Make sure you get the right form, the right year, the right tax year, and the right payment amount so you don't have any issues whatsoever. And then you would check here. Okay, so then we're going to hit next. Now here's where you would fill out all of your other information. So, if your social security number, your spouse's social security number, first name, last name, all of your general info. Once you fill that out and go through the next form, then it's going to ask you for payment options to where you can put in your credit card number, the expiration date, everything you would normally do with your credit card. Again, it'll take you to a window to review all of your payments. Make sure your social security number was correct, your address is correct, the payment amount is correct, the forms are correct. Make sure it's all double checked and squared away. Your credit card number is correct, because if it's not correct, your payment will be lost in the ether for a little bit and will never actually pay your taxes. And then you'll get a late notice from the IRS, to which you'll have to call up and make sure your social was correct and all these different things. So just make sure all the numbers are correct before making your payment. And it's pretty much as simple as that. Once everything's authenticated, reviewed, and you go to hit confirm and make your payment, you're going to get a receipt kind of like this on your email through your email address. And it's going to say, thank you for your payment. And you will have paid your taxes or estimated taxes for the year or the month. Also, another big note that I wanted to mention, that if you're somebody that has like a certain amount of taxes that are owed, but you have like 2 different credit cards welcome offers you want to hit, you can actually see on the screen right here that additionally, if you would like to use 2 different credit cards to pay your taxes, you must complete 2 separate transactions and receive 2 confirmation numbers. So if you have 2 different welcome offers you have to hit, or only $2,500 left on one card and $500 on the other, you can do 2 separate transactions and it's totally fine. Now, usually this is like one of the most straightforward things you could do, and we've been doing this for many, many years, and most of the time, no issues really arise. There are times where you'll make payments and it just never shows up. A lot of the time, there are glitches in the system, but it's very, very rare. You call up irs.gov and they will be able to fix it or see where that payment actually went. Some of the times the transaction just won't actually go through, so have no fear if that is true. And most of the time when people run into issues, it's again for the same reasons, like, oh, they didn't put their social number in correctly, or some of the information they input was wrong. They accidentally put like their spouse's numbers in instead of their own. So just make sure everything's correct before you do it, and you eliminate 99% of the issues. Now, another question that people have whenever I talk about paying your taxes, and especially in this game, the credit card game, they wonder, okay, I don't owe taxes, but my wife does, or my parents do. Can you pay their taxes with my credit card? Because it's their name on their taxes, but it's my name on my credit card. The answer actually is yes. You can actually make a payment for someone else with your credit card, because they mentioned right here, when completing the payment, the social security number is the person for whom the taxes are being paid is entered. So it's kind of irrelevant the name that's on the credit card. And as long as it is a valid credit card and it is able to be charged, then yes, you can use your credit card to pay someone else's taxes. In fact, that was something I did a couple of years ago for my parents-in-law's taxes. When I got this credit card a couple of years ago, the Delta Gold Sky Miles business credit card, that had me pay, at that time it was like $3,000 in taxes in 3 months, and I got a bunch of Delta Sky Miles, which I took some awesome flights later that year, which again I used to pay my parents-in-law's taxes. So it was my name but their account, so it was kosher. And again, it doesn't only just have to be like personal taxes from your businesses, what have you. You could also pay your property taxes. You could pay your home HOA dues. You can pay your repairs on your house, like you have a new roof, and the contractor will allow you to pay with a credit card. There's a million different ways to sign up for different credit cards and to maximize the amount of value that you're going to get back from all the welcome offers, and it's really not as daunting as you may think. And so if you're interested at this stage and any of these credit cards seemed enticing to you, I'm going to leave my referral links down in the pinned comment below. You can just scroll right down. You can see them all. If you apply for them, it's my specific referral link, so I appreciate you for doing so. And I hope you get some really awesome, at least cash back or a lot of travels back for all of these payments if you are going to do this. And so this leaves another problem though, because I don't want to just leave you hanging, right? I've talked about credit cards. I taught you how to get some value back from these credit cards with these tax payments, but then how do you actually get some value back? And how do you actually use these credit cards for crazy travel for the future? Well, if you want to check out this video right in this corner right here, I walk you through my entire 2025 travel credit card strategy for this year and many, many years to come, hopefully, right? So thank you guys for being here all the way to the end. I'll see you in that next video and appreciate every single one of you. Take care and travel, have fun.